مساء الخير، معاكم ليال الرستم من مكتبة ديوان. النهاردة اللايف بتاعنا مختلف. هنتكلم عن الفن والإبداع، عن صوت فنان الشعب وأيقونة ثورة 19. هنتكلم عن سيد درويش وألحان سيد درويش وترجمة كلمات أغاني سيد درويش. لقائنا النهاردة مع الكاتبة والمترجمة مي سرحان. مي ترجمت من اللغة العربية للإنجليزية 24 أغنية من الأغاني اللي لحنها وغناها فنان الشعب خادم الموسيقى سيد درويش. هتكلمنا مي على تجربتها في ترجمة الأغاني، وهنتعرف أكتر مع مي على الكتاب اللي نشرته الجامعة الأمريكية في 2019، تزامن احتفال المئوية لإنشاء الجامعة في مصر وثورة 19. الكتاب بيحمل عنوان أغنية سيد درويش أهو ده اللي صار، اللي كتب كلماتها بديع خيري ولحنها وغناها سيد درويش، وطبعا غناها بعد كده مطربين كتيرة منهم فيروز وعلي الحجار وإيمان البحر درويش. الكتاب النهاردة متوفر في جميع فروع ديوان وعلى الويب سايت بتاع الديوان. هتلاقوا في الديسكريبشن اللي موجودة على اللايف دلوقتي اللينكس اللي تاخدكم للكتاب. قبل ما نبتدي مع مي سرحان، أحب أفكركم بالإيفنتس اللي عاملاها ديوان خلال الأسبوع اللي جاي. بكرة إن شاء الله هيكون الكاتب أحمد مراد هيزور فرع من فروع ديوان وهيوقع روايته الجديدة لقندة بير الوطويط، وهيسيب نسخ للقراء في الفرع اللي حابب يشتري نسخة موقعة بس يسأل على نسخة موقعة من كتاب أحمد مراد. يوم الجمعة بعد بكرة في فرع ديوان الساحل في قرية الدبلوماسيين هيكون الكاتب شريف لطفي هيوقع كتابه البست سيلر النهارده هاب. شريف لطفي هيكون موجود في فرع ديوان الساحل الشمالي بين الساعة 8 مساء لغاية 10 مساء. يوم الأربعاء الجاي لقاء نادي كتاب ديوان اللي بتديره الروائية دكتورة رشا سمير. هتحاور فيه دكتور حسام بدراوي حول كتابه على مقهى الحالمون بالغد. الحوار هيكون لايف على صفحة ديوان وهيكون الساعة 9 مساء. آخر حاجة عندنا الشهر ده هتكون يوم الثلاث 25 أغسطس برضو الساعة 9 بالليل. هيكون الإنياجرام ويبينار اللي بنعمله شهريا مع الإنياجرام. هيكون انترفيو مع الأوثر سوزان ديون، وهيكون المناقشة حول كتابها The Enneagram Relationships and Intimacy How the Enneagram Can Make a Critical Difference in Our Personal Lives. الويبينار ده برضه هيكون لايف على صفحة ديوان على الفيسبوك. لمتابعة اللقاءات دي هتلاقوها كلها على الويب سايت بتاع الديوان، وهتلاقوها كمان على الفيسبوك والإنستغرام بيجز بتاعنا. في الآخر قبل ما نبتدي بحب أشكر المهندس شريف اللي معانا النهاردة لتنسيق الصوت والموسيقى اللي هنسمعها مع بعض. وبفكركم اللي يحب يبعت أي سؤال لمي يبعته على اللايف بتاع الفيسبوك، وإحنا إن شاء الله نقدر لو في وقت نوصل السؤال لمي. مش هطول عليكم أكتر من كده، بس بحب أشكركم لوجودكم معانا، وبحب أرحب بمي سرحان الكاتبة والترانزليتر. أهلا وسهلا بيكي معانا على صفحة ديوان، وبنشكرك جدا لوجودك معانا النهاردة. أهلا وسهلا يا مي، اتفضلي.
أهلا بيك يا ليال، ازيك؟
الحمد لله.
الكلمة النهاردة هتبقى بالإنجليزي، أنا هتكلم بالإنجليزي. So first, I'd like to thank you for this introduction. A big warm welcome to all of you who are watching. My name is Mai Serhan. I am a writer and translator. I hold a BA in English and Comparative Literature and MA in Arabic Studies from the American University in Cairo, and I am currently pursuing a creative writing degree at the University of Oxford. Before I start, I'd like to give thanks where it's due. First, thank you to Diwan for inviting me to give this talk, and to Dr. Alauddin Idris, the Associate Provost at AUC, for conceiving this project, which includes Arabic to English song translations, musical notations, and remastered track recordings, which you can access through this QR code right here, if you can see. Also to my colleagues, Ahmed Houza and Nisma Goueli for writing the introductions and providing context to the songs. And last, but definitely not least, Dr. Samia Mehraz, Professor of Arabic Literature and Director of the Center for Translation Studies at AUC, for entrusting me with this translation. The book, Aho da اللي صار, this is what has come to be, was published by AUC in 2019. Besides containing a range that highlights important moments in Egypt's modern history, the songs also shed light on different angles of Darwish's character. And since the man, dubbed the father of Arab popular music, remains somewhat of an obscure figure until today, I think seeing him through a diverse collection of songs is an interesting way of piecing him together. The book includes some of his more famous songs like Atshania Sadoya, I'm Thirsty Young Girls, Ya Masri, Rise Egyptian, and Al-Helwa Di, This Pretty One, but also more unknown works, which offer points of entry into his character and beyond the public persona. So since the public and the private are intertwined here, I would like to talk about my own experience while translating and getting to know the world and the man. So to me, the decision to translate not just any work, but a literary one specifically, is first and foremost an acknowledgement of love. And what is love really? But passion. To want to know everything about the one you love, to want to hold everything that they are in your hands and in your heart. I watched a movie recently called Call Me By Your Name. And without getting into details, I'll just say the film is a stark portrayal of two people falling in love. Or in translation studies terms, the invariant core of the film is about falling in love. The title, Call Me By Your Name, got me thinking about the ways in which love is similar to translation. The Latin root of the word translation, translatio, means to carry across. To love and to translate then both entail the one being carried across to the other. To want someone to call you by their name is to essentially want to be them. The process of translating Darwish happened over a lifetime for me. I'm one of those people who grew up listening to his music in the 80s. Darwish was very much part of the fabric of popular culture in Egypt for me as a young girl, long before his death in 1923. I willingly watched the chorale on Channel 1. I loved it when Dalida sang Salma Ya Salama. Egyptian singer Ali Al-Haggar sang Aho da اللي صار. His grandson, singer Iman al-Bahr Darwish, commemorated his music in one of my favorite movies of all time, Tazwir fi Awraq Rasmiya. Even the comedian Yunus Shalabi sang Talat Ya Mahla Nurha in the hit play El Ayal Kibret. As a kid, my father used to take me in the winter months to Alexandria, and I remember staring out at the grand and crumbling buildings by the sea, playing Darwish's music in my head whenever I saw his face on a mural. Darwish had the remarkable gift of reworking highbrow chorale-like tropes into a new popular aesthetic. He captured his time, place, and people so perfectly and translated them into music. I, being raised during the Mubarak rule, and we all know how that was, grew up yearning for that popular fervor. So me, all grown up and working in the literary field, being asked to translate Sayed Darwish was like the tying of the knot. Let's listen to Ya Masri, Sharif.
يا مصري مصري دايما بناديك خد بنصري نصري دين واجب عليك يوم ما سعدي راح احضر قدام عينيك عجل مجدي النار دول فاتولك مجد وانت في الطار. شفت أي بلاد يا مصري في الجمال تيجي زي بلادك اللي ترابها مال، نيلها جاي السعد منه حلال زلال، كل حي يفوز برزقه وعيشته عال. يوم مبارك تملك فيه الصعود، حب جارك قبل ما تحب الوجود. إيه نصارى ومسلمين قل ويهود، دي العبارة نسل واحد من الجدود. إيه يا مصري كل أحوالك عجاب، تشكي فقرك وانت ماشي فوق دهب. مصر جنة طول ما فيها انت نيل، عمر ابنك لم يعيش ابدا ذليل. يوم مبارك تملك فيه الصعود، حب جارك قبل ما تحب الوجود. ايه نصارى ومسلمين قال ايه ويهود، دي العبارة نسل واحد من الجدود.
Are we back, guys?
Yes. May, you're back, you're live.
Okay, so back. So I'd like to think about the first time I received the call asking me if if I'm interested in translating Sayed Darwish, as akin to being asked out on a date. Yes, I said without thinking. Act now, think later, no? That's how the honeymoon phase works. The sparks in the air kind of blind you. As things go on a first date, that is when I read him on the page for the first couple of times, I fell for our similarities and avoided his idiosyncrasies. A national icon, a musical genius, a man of the people, and a rebel and renegade whose death is shrouded in sensationalism and whose life is so bold and brief, it seems like a shooting star. What is there not to fall for, right? Well, falling is an interesting word here because once I got down to the business of actually translating Darwish, I began to understand that admiring the man from afar was something and getting involved with him was something else completely. We were different. The man was 100 years older than me and quite literally sang to his own tunes. Born in 1992, he was a sheikh and a builder from Qom al-Dikka in Alexandria before becoming a composer. And I was a privileged Generation X writer with an American education. Darwish came from a different era with its own history, language, class, and culture. His language was outdated to me. The songs he composed spoke in puns and in tongues, a mesh of Greek, French, English, and Turkish. His songwriting reflects an important time in Egyptian history during the British Mandate in the early 20th century. Growing up, he would have lived the restrictions imposed by British rule, and this would all eventually make its way into his music. Let me give you an example from a Sa'ayin, or the water sellers. Darwish's name is associated with the laborers and artisans who had suffered most under British occupation and whom he had given voice. In Naguib al-Rihani's memoir, the renowned Egyptian actor recalls how playwright Badi'a Khairi approached Darwish in 1918 to compose a song for his play about the economic struggles of water sellers. The play was called Walau, or in English, Even If. Darwish spent days unable to find a musical theme, until one day a water seller passed under his house calling, Ya'awad Allah, Yahawin Allah, or may God ease, may God appease. It was a perfect entry point to the song, he thought, and so it was. The song documents the establishment of a water company by the British that took over and imposed high prices on water resources, leaving the water sellers quite desperate for income. Sounds admirable, no? Until you're the one translating it. Let's see. يعوض الله يهون الله عالسقايين دول شقيانين متعفرتين من الكوبانية خواجاتنا جونا هيطفشونا ليه بيرزونا دي صنعة أبونا ما تعبرونا يا خلايق عملوها فينا طيب رضينا ما يلزقونا ويشغلونا وينفعونا يا إخوانا إشمعنا يعني باولو ويني ياكلوا الصينية وياخدوا المهية ما الكوبانية علاولة وابن البلد يطفح الدردي ما يتعدلش يمكن ما يطولش يتعشى ترشي يعوض الله يهون الله كوبانية بيرزونا علاولة الدردي. What on earth did I get myself into? This was one of the many moments where I felt communication between me and Darwish was just not happening. And guess what? I did what any distressed Egyptian partner would do. I called my family to intervene. Hello? Mama, what does kubbaniya mean? I would call and ask in complete agitation. Company, she would say. Hi, uncle. What does dirdi mean? Dregs, he would say. Oh. So he means something like leftovers, maybe? Hello, Nirmin. That's my sister. What is alaula? I have no idea. Let's ask on Facebook. Facebook friends came up with so many different interpretations. Alaula means very. No, it means always. No, it means mumbo jumbo. Actually, in this context, it means they're like sharks, or Pac-Man, if you will. They'll eat anything. Oh, so the British are like Pac-Man. Got it. I needed a Panadol. I needed my bed. I needed to cry. Instead, I sat down my bottom down and wrote the following. May God ease, may God appease. Wretched are those water sellers, enraged by the new company. The foreigners replaced us dwellers, and now look at our misery. It's our forefathers' occupation. How about some accommodation? We stayed quiet as they did the deed. Are they planning to pay us heed? Why should Paolo and Yanni eat fancy food on a tray, and from the company receive the high pay, while we landsmen just eat leftovers? Pickles for dinner. May God ease, may God appease. And here we come to what makes translation, like love, so bittersweet. A word in a language is a product of a place, a culture, a visual reservoir, a historical moment. All those aspects are packed in every word and carrying them across, along with all their associations, into a different language is near impossible. Take, for example, the word pain in French. You would think that the translation is immediately bread, right? Well, no, because in France it's baguette, here it's aish baladi, in India it's naan, in Germany it's pretzel. That's excluding all the other local varieties. What made this exercise even more tricky is that a song is essentially a form of poetry, a literary genre that revels in suggestion and possibilities, but that is also subdued and restricted by grammar, rhyme, meter, structure, language, interpretation. You simply cannot tick all these boxes at once. And so I realized early on that translating Darwish was not about the stars in my eyes or the butterflies in my stomach. It was a hard labor. I had to work hard if I were to stand any chance to be called by his name. I also came to realize that I had to grant myself some creative license. I would choose interpretation over rhyme at times, and rhyme over equivalence at others, and so on. For example, Ya'awad Allah, Yahawin Allah literally means may God compensate, may God ease. But here I chose rhyme and interpretation over literal meaning, and I said may God ease, may God appease. What always carried me through in this process was the trust in the feeling his music provided. Let's not forget, Darwish did not write the lyrics, he composed the music. And there is much to translate there as well. The spirit, the time, the melancholy, the irreverence, the fervor, and the authenticity. In doing so, translation becomes kind of an access to the central heartbeat of the music, an exchange of pulse, if you will. A good example is his song, one of my favorites, Aho da اللي صار. Let's listen, Sharif. Hello back. So, it is said that poetry, by definition, is untranslatable, and I agree. At best, only creative transportation is possible. There were times when Darwish was completely untranslatable, and I wondered whether this relationship was healthy. There were literally times when I broke down in tears and churned out all the love cliches that existed. I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. I just need some space. It's not you, it's me. I felt so naive to have thought my love for him qualified me to take his life's work on. One particular moment came when I was translating Ya Balah Zaghloul, or O Zaghloul Days, a song that was written in reaction to the British ordered exile of nationalist leader Saad Zaghloul in 1919. There were nationwide demonstrations at the time, and the British had banned Egyptians from ever mentioning Saad's name at the risk of arrest. Now you'd think a song about exile and occupation would be decorated with hefty words and elevated meanings. Well, not when it borrowed from the Egyptian street, and not when Darwish was involved. His approach was often tongue-in-cheek. I can honestly think of no better way to describe him than by the Egyptian word hartul, sometimes. I challenge anyone to translate this word. To demonstrate, Zaghlul dates are those very Egyptian red dates with a crunch that tastes like sugarcane, and they became an allegory for sad. Let's see. يا بلح زغلول يا حليوة يا بلح يا بلح زغلول يا زرع بلدي عليك يا وعدي يا بخت سعدي زغلول يا بلح. Within these unassuming 4 lines lies an overwhelming translation challenge. As is often the case in Arabic poetry, words are chosen to reflect double or even multiple meanings. Besides being an allusion to the nationalist leader, Saad in Arabic means happiness and good fortune. Since there's no single equivalent in English that combines both meanings, I would need to somehow retain the meaning without compromising the poetic flow and the integrity of the English. I had to make a choice, and something would need to be lost. In this case, the allusion to happiness, holding on to the name reference instead. So I said, O Zaghlul dates, you are so great. My luck, my sad, O Zaghlul dates. In this case, the untranslatable created what we call in the field of translation studies a lacuna, or a lexical gap. At other times, the problem became the very thing that drew me in. Darwish's irreverence and freedom from pre-existing rules entailed an intense use of slang, an outdated slang at times, I should add. But once decoded, the songs shed light on some very interesting facts. For example, we all traditionally view Nahda Nisaiya, or the women's renaissance at the turn of the century, as an elite movement, thanks to figureheads like Hoda Sha'rawi, who became the first president of the Egyptian Feminist Union in 1923. However, more recent studies revealed that middle-class women were also at the forefront of the feminist movement. They were the founders, editors, and contributors to women's press. But a song like Bint Masr, or Daughter of Egypt, composed by Sayed Darwish, reveals that the movement had grassroots as well. The song was sung by Hayat Sabri, known as Darwish's muse, lover, and alleged wife under common law, according to reports that have been denied by his family. Hayat also played a key role in contesting the story of his death, which paints him as a national hero who had been poisoned by the British. In Hayat's court testimony, the story goes as such. An aspiring songstress was sent to Darwish by a friend in the hopes that he would compose music for her. But Darwish turned her away, unimpressed by her voice. The woman was reportedly so scorned that she incited his killing. Little is known about Darwish's personal life, and his family denies the story as well. But it is said he fought fiercely with record companies so that Hayat Sabri would sing with him. He obviously loved and believed in her, so much so that she, to him, was the embodiment of Bint Masr and the one who sang the song. Let's listen together to Bint Masr by Hayat Sabri. Sharif, please play.
شغل البكش
Okay, so just to recap what Hayat Sabri is saying. بردون يا فندي، بالذمة ايه بس عيب المصرية؟ الدنيا ضاقت بيك لما ما تاخدش غير الأفرنجية. افهم واعقل، يهبل يهبل ليه غيرنا يفرقنا؟ ما تخلي زيتنا في دقيقنا. المصرية تبيض وشك والأفرنجية عينها في قرشك. يا سيدي انت اللي ما تكتبش وتقرا، الدجالين قالعين عنها. وتو ما تقع البقرة ملحق ما تكتر سكاكينها. اخي اخي اخي، تفوع على الجهل 100 تفة، يلا نكسر وراه شقفة. المصرية تبيض وشك literally meaning the Egyptian whitens your face. قالعين عنها literally to take off clothes, here meaning have no interest in her. اخي اخي اخي, an expression of disgust. Tfu, the sound of spitting, words that are rooted in the Egyptian street, in the vernacular, that scream independence from occupation, from language, from the literary establishment, and from male dominance. Again, what is there not to fall for? Despite all difficulties, I renewed my vows to Darwish and translated. Let's see the English. Pardon me, Effendi. Please do tell me, what fault do you find honestly? Are there no Egyptian women left around, so the foreigners you chase and hound? Understand, grow up, you dunce. Let no one divide us at this hour. Let us keep our oil in our flour. While the Egyptian girl will make you proud, foreigners around your wells will crowd. Damn, she who cannot write or read, swindlers for her have no need. Once you tip, you can fall, then you'll be free for all. Darn, darn, darn. Darn the dunce, darn ignorance. The national icon and women's advocate also had a drug habit. Let's not forget, let's not be coy about it. The man composed the song El Hashashin, or the hashish smokers. He evidently loved women, to have a good time and to go out on the town. How else would you explain him speaking in tongues, incorporating the languages of cosmopolitan Alexandria at the time? Let me read to you an excerpt from Togar al-Agam, or We Sir are Foreign Salesmen. إحنا أفندم تجار الأعجام حضرنا من شان نجيب بضاعة تمام. بيعوا أنتيكات، بيعوا مقويات، بيعوا مناعشات، بيعوا مفرفشات، حاجات ومحتاجات. من شان سواحين، من شان سواحات. أمان. سجادة بساط عليه السلام. مفيش واردات من بلاد الأعجام. مدام في حروبات، سكات مقطوعات. ميرزا خان مسكين كان يكسب جنيهات. دلوقتي يا فندم مش لاقي لقمة، مش لاقي هدمة. أمان أمان. في عنده منزول يسطل 10 يوم. إذا كان دقه طبول مش اصحى من النوم. امسك حبة نشوء ضيعهم ميات. امنع عكوسات، امنع تعكيسات. طلع لك عفاريت بتاع الستات في واخد ساعات. أمان أمان. Super easy, right? Now the translation. We, sir, are foreign salesmen. With merchandise we tend, sell antiques and supplements, refreshments to no end, lots of things and sweet nothings, for woman and for man. Oh, Aman. The carpet is threadbare and tattered, but import business is now shattered. Since there is wars, poor Mirza Khan, he used to make many money. Now Afandin can't find food, no more, not any. Oh, Aman. I have specialty, keep you stoned 10 days. If they bang drums, you remain in daze. Spend money, take a pill, block irritation, block inflammation, sexy spirits appear, no proclamation. Oh, Aman. And finally, I look back at the experience of translating these words and others as similar to that of bearing a child. The actual labor, or what we call in Arabic الساعة المنسية, the forgotten hour, is referred to as such because the childbearer goes through an excruciating kind of pain, one that is magically forgotten once you hold your child in your arms. I don't remember the pain either, just the gain of holding this book in my hand. Can I now say that I succeeded in making Darwish call me by his name? Absolutely not. The idea of two people becoming one is an illusion in love and in translation. We are two separate individuals, overlapping for a moment, but never quite merging. There is no equivalent to Sayed Darwish. And on that note, I would like to end my talk with a fitting song, Salma ya Salama. You probably know by now that Salma is a name, but is also a reference to safety. A case of untranslatability, of course. But who cares? What's done is done. Sharif, Salma ya Salama, please.
Speechless after all that you said. Before your talk, I used to love Sayed Darwish. Now I'm in love with Sayed Darwish. I love the passion that you have put in this translations and the meaning in Arabic and English have reached me. A brilliant work you've done. If anyone has any questions for Mai, Mai is here. We almost have another 10 minutes. We can take questions. Mai معانا for another Facebook. فرحانة جدا, lovely and poetic. My brilliant friend, and on the Facebook live, people are really enjoying it. And I loved the way someone described, I believe it's Nihal, that it's a brilliant translation. Someone used the word of joy and nostalgia, how your talk brought joy and nostalgia. And I just thought the combination of both is actually describes what you have done. You've brought joy and you've brought nostalgia.
That's amazing.
So I just have it's just beautiful. People are looking forward to reading the book. So I'll just remind you all that the book is available in Diwan bookstores, and it's also on our website. In the description of the live, you will find the links that will take you to the book. And there's also a limited collector's edition of the book that is also available on our website. And it's actually a brilliant, beautiful collector's piece that I would recommend for everyone to get. But there is only a limited number of this edition. I would just like to know more, Mai, from you about this project, how it started and how long did it take you to complete the translations and to see your baby born in your hand, as you have described it.
So it started, I was studying translation studies very seriously, and I did my MA thesis was about translating gender post 2011 under the supervision of Dr. Sami Mehres. And she called me one day and she said, would you like to translate Darwish? And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And then when I started translating and like suffering with all these words that are completely untranslatable, I remember her even laughing at me. She's like, remember how excited you were? But obviously, like, I'm really happy, as I said, that it's done. But the thing is, the fun fact about this book is that I was given 10 days to translate 24 songs, which meant that I really didn't sleep, or I slept very little. And there were so many revisions, submitting and then revising and all that in only 10 days. And
wow.
And then like when it was done, like even Dr. Mehres said, like this is work of a whole team for a year's time project, and not just 10 days. So I would have loved to give it another go. Obviously, every time I look, I'm like, I could have done this, I could have done that. But it's done.
Wow, I would have never imagined 10 days. I would have thought 9 months, a year to translate 24.
Yeah, as I said, and I really, it reminds me of a Scatman saying, like, it was so painful to do in 10 days. And as I said, I don't really remember the pain. It's great that it's out.
Brilliant. Well, just to continue on what you were saying, one of the comments we received was from Nihal Shawi, and Nihal's birthday is today, so happy birthday, Nihal. She states that the Arabic language needs a sentence to translate. A meaning of one word can take up to an entire sentence. So that's incredible what you have done. That was her comment. And this takes me to the next question, and that being, what was the most challenging part of the translation? And in this case, which song would you consider the most challenging song to translate?
I think the most challenging part of this translation is his use of slang, because the slang was very particular to the Egyptian street. It was the vernacular was steeped in a very outdated language, like it's over 100 years old. So thank God I have my parents to thank for that, because they're more familiar with all these old terms. So I called them a lot over the course of 10 days, and they helped a lot. But then I started gaining also intuition, like when my mom would tell me like Kubbaneya is company, I'm like, oh, so I started to look and try to find the root of the word in it, like try كده by intuition to find it. Yeah. And then also like internet and asking people all the time, asking people as well. I'd say maybe the most difficult one was probably Sa'ain, which I've referenced in my talk.
Yes.
If you remember, like words like birazuna or alawla with dirdi. I had no idea what these words meant. So I think it's the Sa'ain. Yeah.
Okay. And Mai, what are you currently working on? What's your current project? Are you doing something similar in translating more songs, more cultural songs today? What's your current project?
No, I'm actually in the process of translating something that's part of oral history project. It's the letters of Ali Shaf. It just chronicles his exile from Palestine and going back to Jerusalem. And there are so many letters. We've done around 5, and over the next year I'll be doing around 40 more. So that's in terms of translation. But I'm also working on a collection of short stories, and I write poetry every day. And as I said, I'm at the creative writing program at Oxford, so working all the time on new writing. And that's it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. You're truly a poet. Even in translation, we could really sense that in your translation. What would you say is one thing that the working on Translating Sayed Darwish has inspired in you?
The first thing that the Associate Provost, Dr. Alauddin Idris, told me once I was done is like, would you like to translate the Sheikh Imam and Ahmed Fuad Nagmi? I'm like, yes, but it's scary now that I know. I think that's going to be in the books sometime in the future. I don't know when, but I would love to work on that project.
Yeah, that's a great project, and I'm sure you do a great job. I have no more questions. I would just like to say that I'm sure this is one of many talks that we will have with you. It's been truly interesting, inspiring, brilliant talk, and I really enjoyed having you with us and learned a lot, and just feel so inspired by what you have done with Sayed Darwish and the translation. And I would just leave the last words to you, and just thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I will leave the last words with Mai Serhan. Thank you, Mai.
Thank you. I'll just say thank you to everyone who's watching. I hope you enjoyed, and make sure to go and buy this book. You have it in leather, and you have the paperback as well. So you can pre-order from Diwan, and make sure there's the QR code. You can listen to the original music. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Sharif.
Podcast from the beginning.